There was one truth every German panzer commander believed in 1941. You do not win a war of movement unless your tanks are superior. Faster, better armed, better led. That belief is not arrogance, it is doctrine, forged in Poland, proven in France, and burned into muscle memory by victory after victory. German armor does not just defeat the enemy, it humiliates him. You advance in tight formations, you punch through with speed, you shatter resistance before it can even understand what hit it. That is the rule. It is why entire armies collapse in weeks. It is why the Wehrmacht is feared across Europe. And in the summer of 1941, as Operation Barbarossa explodes eastward, there is no reason to doubt it. Soviet tanks? Crude, poorly led, thinly armored relics of an incompetent system. German intelligence says most are obsolete. German crews believe they can kill any Soviet tank at 800 meters with a single well-placed shot. That confidence is absolute. Until September 1941. Until German shells begin to bounce, until engines scream and crews panic, until one officer realizes deep in the forest south of Moscow that the rules of armored warfare no longer apply. You are Oberst Erhard Raus. It is early autumn, 1941. You command a motorized infantry regiment in the 6th Panzer Division, part of Army Group Center. You are not young, early 40s, but you are sharp, methodical, respected. You believe in preparation, discipline, and cold analysis over bravado. You have seen victory up close. France fell in 6 weeks. Soviet resistance so far has been chaotic, brave at times, but tactically broken. German columns have advanced hundreds of miles. Entire Red Army formations have vanished into captivity. But now the advance slows. Your unit pushes south of the town of Mtsensk, roughly 200 kilometers from Moscow. The terrain shifts. Dense forests, swamps, narrow roads, visibility collapses. This is no place for sweeping maneuvers. Intelligence reports Soviet armor ahead, nothing unusual. You expect light tanks, T-26s, BTs, machines your men have already destroyed by the hundreds. Your anti-tank guns are ready. 37mm pack guns, the door knockers. Your Panzer IIIs mount short-barreled 50mm guns. Panzer IVs still carry low-velocity 75mm cannons meant for infantry support. You are confident. Then the first reports come in. Panzer Cruise report hits at 300 meters. No penetration. Anti-tank guns fire repeatedly. Ricochets. And then someone says the words no German commander expects to hear. The shells are bouncing. Ahead of you, something waits. And it is not what Berlin promised. There was one truth every German panzer commander believed in 1941. You do not win a war of movement unless your tanks are superior. Faster, better armed, better led. That belief is not arrogance, it is doctrine, forged in Poland, proven in France, and burned into muscle memory by victory after victory. German armor does not just defeat the enemy, it humiliates him. You advance in tight formations, you punch through with speed, you shatter resistance before it can even understand what hit it. That is the rule. It is why entire armies collapse in weeks. It is why the Wehrmacht is feared across Europe. And in the summer of 1941, as Operation Barbarossa explodes eastward, there is no reason to doubt it. Soviet tanks? Crude, poorly led, thinly armored relics of an incompetent system. German intelligence says most are obsolete. German crews believe they can kill any Soviet tank at 800 meters with a single well-placed shot. That confidence is absolute. Until September 1941. Until German shells begin to bounce, until engines scream and crews panic, until one officer realizes deep in the forest south of Moscow that the rules of armored warfare no longer apply. Your Panzer IVs fire high explosive rounds, hoping for track damage. The shells explode harmlessly against sloped armor designed to deflect energy, not absorb it. This tank is wrong. Its armor is not thick by traditional measures, around 45 millimeters, but it is angled sharply. German gunners trained on vertical plates cannot find a killing shot. And then there is the gun. At 1500 meters, Soviet crews fire accurately. At 1200 meters, German tanks die. At 900 meters, panic spreads. You attempt a flanking maneuver. It fails. The T-34 turns faster than expected. Its Christie suspension absorbs terrain that would throw German optics into chaos. Soviet crews fire on the move, something German doctrine says is ineffective. But here, it works. You watch one of your best platoons disappear in smoke. Failure feels certain. You order a withdrawal, not a retreat, but a measured pullback to regroup. It is chaos anyway. Engines roar, tracks grind, wounded scream over radios clogged with frantic voices. This is not defeat by numbers, this is defeat by design. Hours later, as the firing dies down, you walk the field. You see German shells embedded harmlessly in Soviet armor. You see the angled hulls, the wide tracks, the brutal simplicity of the machine, and you understand. Germany has not misjudged Soviet tactics. Germany has been outbuilt. For the first time in the war, you write a report, not of victory, but of warning. You describe a tank immune to standard anti-tank fire, a tank with superior mobility, a tank that renders existing doctrine obsolete. You send it up the chain. Berlin will not believe you, but reality does not care. If you find this kind of forgotten military history as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of adaptation, shock, and hard-earned truth deserve to be told, and by subscribing, you help ensure they aren't forgotten. What you witness at Mtsensk is not an anomaly, it is the future. Within weeks, reports flood in from across the Eastern Front. T-34s survive hits that should kill them. German tank losses rise. Crews begin aiming for tracks, optics, or rear armor. Desperation tactics. German command reacts with disbelief, then urgency. Heinz Guderian himself inspects captured T-34s. Engineers crawl over them in stunned silence. One officer reportedly says, if the Russians had produced this tank in quantity earlier, the war would have ended already. Emergency conferences are held. New guns are demanded. Longer barrels, higher velocity. The 75mm PaK-40 is rushed into service. Panzer IVs are upgunned, and from captured Soviet steel, German designers draw inspiration. What they didn't know was how deep the problem ran. The T-34 is not rare. It is being produced by the tens of thousands. Factories are relocated east of the Urals. Even as German forces advance, Soviet production accelerates. Quantity meets quality. The balance shifts. At Kursk, at Prokhorovka, across the endless plains, German armor fights harder battles with shrinking margins. And it all traces back to moments like yours, when confidence dies in the face of something genuinely new. You survive the war. Erhard Raus continues to command, adapts, learns. After 1945, you write. You record what you saw, not to excuse failure, but to explain it. The T-34 becomes legend, not because it was perfect, but because it was good enough, simple enough, and produced in numbers that reshaped warfare. Today, T-34s still sit in museums and on monuments. To many, they are symbols, but to you, and to the men who faced them first, they were something else entirely. They were the sound of shells bouncing. The moment certainty cracked. The day the rules broke. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten moments from the archives. If you want to join us on that mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that Oberst Erhard Raus and the men of the 6th Panzer Division do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.